Welcome back to UFC Fight Island. That's right, Yas Island Abu Dhabi plays host to not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 UFC events over the course of 5 weeks. And myself, Oscar Willis from TheMacLife, we're some of those that'll be here covering every last one of them. So stay tuned to both of our sites so you can get full coverage of all this stuff. It's starting this weekend with UFC 253. Listen, man, the one thing that's great about being back on Fight Island, this safe zone. Yeah. What does that do? It allows us to have in-person interviews. It allows us to have in-person press conferences, which we just wrapped up earlier today. Face-offs, all those things. And listen, I'm sorry, the virtual media days, love them. We appreciate them. But getting a little bit of that heat going back and forth, I kind of felt it a little bit today with Adesanya Costa. The rivalry is real. Yes, I know they had the friendly little banter in the hallway, but they still don't like each other very much.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, talking about in person, we saw them going back and forth on the split screen on ESPN. It's not the same as when you get to watch them actually off the microphones while Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz are answering questions, and they're still talking to each other, and get to, they notice each other's earrings, they get to compliment each other's fashion. I have to say, a lot of sexual tension leading into this main event. But yeah, it's been great to be back here. We're being well looked after and all that good stuff, the touristy stuff you've heard before. But the heat in this one, I know a lot of people are talking about the meeting in the hallway, but I mean, watch it again, I still feel like maybe there's something being missed in translation there. I think it was a little bit more tense than people realize, and both of these guys have done nothing to say otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are trying to write it off and say, oh, it was all cordial. I don't think so. I think it was one of those kind of passive-aggressive little, rivalries back and forth. Let's talk about the fight itself, though, because it's here in Fight Island. We know it's in the big cage. I do believe that favors Adesanya a little bit more. It gives them a little bit more room to work. But I thought it was interesting, too, when we talked to Paulo Costa last night, how much he was saying that, hey, listen, I'm not just power. I'm the precision guy, too. I have power, so I'm interested to see that. He said today maybe the ground game will factor in. It's tough. I think Adesanya's shown a lot better takedown defense than people give him credit for. But overall, I think Adesanya is the rightful favorite here. I do like the power that Costa brings to the table. That makes it intriguing for me. But I got to say I'm leaning towards the champion. How about you? You have a lean one way or the other?
Well, I noticed one thing Paulo said, actually, that I found interesting. He's like, I'm not just going to chase him. If I go and he runs away, I'm going to go back to the center of the cage and reset, which I imagine Dana White's heart just started pulping.
No, chase him. Chase him.
I promised. But that was interesting to me. That shows that Costa is maybe trying to come into this with a bit more of a cerebral approach. But then you have to think, well, that's not what got him to the dance. What got him to the dance is winging them in, going for the body shots, getting them against the cage. So if he's going to try and suddenly at this late notice change his game plan, I don't think that's worked very well in the past, that someone goes for the title, we've seen examples perhaps, but goes for the title and tries to mix it up.
Yeah.
I think it's, especially against a specialist like Adesanya, do what you're there to do. Go for him, try and corner him, do what Romero didn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is the intriguing part of it. Like, Romero obviously had a strategy, realized I can't chase the guy, but you also can't go to that extreme either. So I'm sure that Dana White and everybody is hoping that doesn't happen. Let's talk about the co-main event. A little bit less steam on it. Obviously, Dominic Reyes, Jan Blachowicz, both very nice guys. They're both very polite. I think they were very stern in saying, listen, I like this guy and nice, but I definitely see myself as the champion. I do love the fact that they're both embracing the fact that, hey, listen, yes, we know John Jones stepped away, but this is a real title. You know what I mean? He's moving up to better things, and in some ways, it's almost better than being stripped for some legal reason or whatever. He's elected to leave.
Yes.
Now we're fighting for his title. I like it. Listen, the public sentiment here, I think, is very much in Dominic Reyes' favor. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that he did look so good against John Jones. Yeah. I scored that fight for John Jones, but a lot of people I know had it for Dominic Reyes. Either way, it was a great fight. I'm sure that's a lot of the public sentiment. Jan Blachowicz has proven himself in this winning streak to be very, very dangerous, very, very powerful. How are you seeing this one play out?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Jan's answer at the press conference when I said I think Dominic Reyes gave John Jones his hardest fight. He said, well, that's because John didn't fight me.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that answer, and I like that attitude. And listen, I think both of these guys at this point, just a couple of days out for fight night, probably could do without hearing the name John Jones ever said in
Yes.
And it's funny that we're all sort of unanimously agreeing, the fan base, the pundits are all agreeing, like, okay, this is the post John Jones 205 division now.
Right.
He's gone. I would wager there's going to be a few tweets on Saturday,
there's no...
regardless.
Hope you guys enjoy my belt.
Keep that warm for me, lads. So, listen, I think that, unfortunately, and as Daniel Cormier had to suffer through it, as Rumble Johnson had to suffer through it, John Jones will loom over that division until he probably fights at heavyweight, realistically. So I think these guys are going to have to learn to deal with that. As for the fight itself, Yeah, I think as you nailed it, Dominic's the favourite. But listen, there's power in that left hook.
Legendary Polish power, in fact. I'll tell you what, man. One thing that's kind of an intangible, I guess. You remember the first time we came to Fight Island, we were really worried about the temperature, the heat, the humidity. We found out that, oh, by the way, the arena is cold. If you're cage side, you need a jacket. You know, so it's chilly. So that's not a problem. What is a problem for a lot of people is the time of day that the fights are at. And again, don't read maybe too much into this for fight night, but Dominic Reyes, when he was at the media day with us, was like visibly yawning and admitting how tired he was. So that I'm interested to see if that plays a fact, because I don't want to say, well, that's going to be the result of the fight because he's tired. I mean, you add in that adrenaline of fight night, things can change in a heartbeat. But I think that's the one intangible here. It's not the temperature, it's not the humidity, it's not that. It's the time that these people are fighting.
The interesting thing is, though, for this one, they've all come from the same place, right? Didn't they all fight from Vegas?
Correct.
So they should all be having the same issue. But listen, I remember Alexander Volkanovski said, "Hey, USADA came and knocked on my door while I was in the middle of the seat." Like there are factors there that can mess with your schedule, and so far I would argue Israel seems to be doing the best. In fact, if you check his social media, the guy has been awake 24 hours since he got here. He's posting at 4 in the morning, 8 in the morning. It's kind of crazy. So that's certainly the last takeaway I had from the previous Fight Island, was that it was the tiredness and the fatigue, and just getting your muscles going rather than the heat. And I'm interested. You can't really predict who's going to suffer more.
No
Imagine
question.
if you have your slow day, at least we fighters do, on the same day. You're also tired.
Yeah, that's the one day. Yeah. Terrible. All right, well, listen, UFC 253 is going to be a fantastic one. It kicks off a 5-week run, as we said, on Fight Island. Of course, that wraps up on October 24th with UFC 254. So it starts with a blockbuster, it ends with a blockbuster, has some pretty intriguing fights in between. We'll be here to cover it all. So keep it on the MacLife, keep it on MMA Junkie. We'll have you covered from Abu Dhabi.